What up, y'all? Back again with some extraordinary structures here that we supposedly built in the 1800s or before, y'all. But look at these. They're either, some of them in the water to show that they went through a major catastrophe, or they're sunk in the mud and they're top heavy. So they went through a major catastrophe that nobody's speaking on. One that was worldwide, where liquefaction caused a mud flood, which was the end of a whole civilization of people worldwide. And if you are a Bible believer, you have to take into context for something like that to have occurred, and for there to be structures like this standing that are absolutely amazing. And we can't build them, even come close to some of these structures. All of these probably on this particular video, because this has amazing works of art. They're works of art, and they're structures, buildings, things that people would stay in. It screams royalty, like kings and queens and princes and dukes and all that stuff that you almost believe is fantasy today was in fact a reality during, let's say, fictitiously, if the Millennial Kingdom already came and gone and it was undercover and hidden in our history. You know, there were a lot of things that occurred in our history that are not spoken of in the church today, such as about 800 to 1,000 years added to our calendar when it turned over to this Gregorian, and the I and the J that stood for Christ just seemed to miraculously have turned into a 1. And there's large gaps in our history where it has been stretched out to when these catastrophes happen that they describe may all have been occurring all at once, like, say, the tribulation. And when Christ said he was coming back in that generation and the people there would see him, he meant it. The generation's 40 years, y'all. And so technology that we have today is still technology that probably existed in our way back history. It's just been covered up because it was probably burnt up in the tribulation heat. But what will be, again, there's nothing new under the sun. You can't tell me that we only had a hammer and a chisel and a little rickety wood ladder, and we built all this stuff previous to the 1800s. And we can't even try to build it today, not a one of them. Everything we build today is faux and fake because it's Satan's kingdom. It's the little season, the short season. And it had to be hidden from us, because if it wasn't, we would all believe in Christ, because we wouldn't need faith to, because he was already here for 1,000 years reigning. So it's got to be a test for us as well. But you can't tell me these structures we built, and previous to 1850, they were all over the place. But in the 1800s, every city in the world seemed to have burned down to the ground, and they were stone buildings and granite and marble and all of this, brass and copper. But it looks like they got hit with a deep impact weapon, because fire can't melt stone, take it down, and all the things that occurred. And now these things also had technology to them that got taken off and dismantled. All these spires were ways of free air electricity, and the bells. You know, bells is the main sound that keeps a demon away. Did you ever hear that? But they stripped all the bell towers, and they call it Antiquitech in this department of conspiracy, I say. But look at that thing, man. Who dragged that there and chiseled it out with a hammer? And to its perfection, y'all. And could you imagine if these things were in their pristine shape all the time? No bathrooms. That's why we had the Great Stink in the 1830s and 40s. But that's because maybe they didn't have to use the restroom during the Millennial Kingdom. And then when we came back, we reoccupied cities that didn't have restrooms, and we needed to. because they could clean in water during the times of Jesus. So interesting, nonetheless. But if you just look back in your history a little bit, you'll find that there's only a handful of people, of historians, that have written it, put it together. And 3 of them during the time of around 66, 70 AD saw Christ come through the clouds.